Brescia is the town in Italy with the highest number of immigrants, and there are loads of teenagers of young kids who are black like me, and I actually admired how they were naturally and stuff like that because it was different from me because I was always in a mostly white environment.
How do you think the Italian culture and the culture at home, how do you think they had anything similar, or were they completely different? What
Oh,
were your thoughts about that?
I know it's a rhetorical question. Of course, there were totally different, but even like, I mean, sometimes I think about the fact that, you go to school and you have the Italian kids, that they have their Italian parents who help them with the homeworks because it's part of their culture. Well, I'm Nigerian, so my parents, they don't know anything about most of the things I have to study at school. And they have different ways of explaining and understanding and even motivating you. I remember my white friends, they will get a good grade and they will get trips, they will get presents and stuff like that. It was just different, like two opposing worlds, man. But
It does make me think, when we were in school, we had, if you ever got in trouble, usually you weren't concerned. The African kids were never concerned about it until they said, we're going to call your parents.
exactly,
Then we were
exactly.
concerned. Well, the other kids weren't too concerned by that either. They're like, well, I'll talk to my mom, but we're like, don't call our parents. Anything else, please, please. Because we
Exactly,
knew the discipline
man.
that
I
that
remember,
involved.
man. I remember those scenes. Sometimes my dad, because I used to lose stuff very easily, like my pencils and everything. Once in a while, he would come to school and make sure. Because maybe one day he bought me like a new pen or something, and then I come back home without it. The next day, we'll make sure he goes to school and see that the pen is there, scaring me, you know. African parents, man.
I think that's the interesting thing about having a dual lens, two eyes
Yeah,
with which you see the world. You
yeah.
see their side, you see the other side, and you try and find a way. I also understand you went over to the UK to study as well. So you went to the States first and then the UK, or how did it run?
Yeah, I was an exchange student. Like I was a senior in high school in the US. So on my fourth year of high school in Italy, I went to the US for 1 year. And then when I came back, I finished my high school in Italy and decided to go to England for the university, for
Ah,
university.
I see. Okay,
So I,
so tell me your impressions of the US. Now you've been born and, well, you've basically almost been born and raised in Italy.
yeah, yeah.
Now you're going to the US, which has a big predominant African American culture. It's got a well established understanding of dual heritage. It's got a language around complexity when it comes to race. So, how was it to move from Italy to a completely different
You're
environment?
taking for granted that in every part of the US is full of black people. No, actually,
Mm.
the high school I went to in the US, it was in a little town in Pennsylvania. It was worse than in my high school in Italy. I swear,
And
because I was the only black kid there. I was the only black kid. Even if I look at my senior year picture, I was the only black kid, the only one. But it was useful for my self-esteem somehow because uh, like those American kids like really liked me and enjoyed my presence, and something happened that made me feel better about myself. First of all, the girls, I must admit, like black kids didn't have any chance with Italian girls back then. Unlucky, but that's
the
just
black
the way
Italian hunk, were you?
they called me black stallion, man, the black Italian stallion because I'm from Italy, the black stallion. No, but no. On top of that, it's this. Like I come from a really little town in Italy, and a lot of people's like respect and stuff like that. Like people tend to be quite superficial, so people tend to respect you more because of what you possess, like your clothes, like your brands. Italy is all about brands and stuff like that. So for me, it was really a free moment to go to this high school in the US where people were just laid back. And what mattered the most was your personality. Like, in the US, they always have this maybe popularity contest. Even though someone might find something negative from that, it's better than what we had in Italy, because who was the most popular in school was who had the best clothes, who was the richest kid. Whereas in the US, someone could have been broke as hell, but if he had the nice personality, they would consider him like the prom king, the prom queen. Like you see, when we look at the prom king and prom queen, I mean, from my personal experience, I shouldn't that it's like that in every single high school. But it was the cool kid, but actually the genuinely cool kid, not the cool kid that because his parents had money to buy him shit. So like having the opportunity to experience my personal coolness made me come back to Italy and be like, oh, you guys are cool. You guys ain't, you know.
So it opened your eyes to how you could be perceived in a different way.
Yeah.
Do you
Except
think?
for your possessions.
Yeah, and you're right that probably the majority of American states don't have a predominant African American presence. My reference is more in terms of that there is in historical kind of,
No,
you know, the
I was
paperwork is there, the history books are
true.
there. Even if it's something maybe that's not taught in every school, there is an
Yeah,
awareness that there is something called the Black American or African
yeah, yeah,
American.
yeah.
Even if
But
somebody calls you the N word, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So I was just curious about that. A place where maybe you didn't have to explain who you are as much. I don't know. Maybe that's also an assumption on my part. Where there's
No, I
curious
still had
about
to
your
explain
African.
who I was because how they understood me, how they perceived me,
Yeah.
is exactly how a Black American is perceived in Italy. Is
Right.
perceived as something different from an
Right.
actual Italian. So when I was there in the US, like it's even funny. Like lately, I look at the face on my Facebook and I see all my ex-American high school friends, and I see that they're all Trump supporters, and most of them are like very very Republican and stuff. But they didn't act on me as if I was a Black American. I must say, they had this curiosity. I was more Italian to them. Funny
Yeah.
enough, when I was in the US, was the first time that I felt Italian in my life.
Yeah.
Because to them, even like if I would introduce myself, I wouldn't be like, yeah, hello, I'm Tommy, I'm from Nigeria, because I didn't even remember Nigeria back
Yeah.
at that point. I was like, I'm Tommy, I'm from Italy. And when they would ask me about stuff, they would ask me about Italy, not about Nigeria, which was something new to me.
So now, when you came back to Italy, you then decided to go to the UK. You were studying in the city of Cambridge,
Yeah.
and why did you decide to choose the city of Cambridge?
I actually, when I was in high school, in my last year of high school, I went to a university fair and I saw this university, and I
Right.
decided to apply. They accepted me, and I spent 3 years there in England.
So that's a new experience. Now you've got you're now seeing. Well, did you experience Black British culture at all while you're over there?
If I have to be honest, not really. Like the first time I actually started really experiencing Black culture was when I was 25 years old, and I started doing this music stuff seriously, and I moved to a town in like close to my house called Brescia, like in the city of Brescia. Brescia is the town in Italy with the highest number of immigrants, and there were loads of teenagers of young kids who were Black like me, and I actually admired how they were naturally and stuff like that, because it was different from me, because I was always in a mostly white environment. And even when I was in Cambridge, there were like a few black students and stuff, but I was more linked to the international field. So like I would hang out with, I don't know, Italians and I don't know, French people, Spanish people, and stuff like that.
Please like and subscribe. Shadow Choose Films.